Ready to sell your townhome in Gainesville? Well, I've got the checklist for you on how to do that and make top dollar. I'm Lindsey Johnson, your resource for all things real estate. Let's talk about townhomes in Gainesville. Gainesville is a college town, and townhomes are super popular, whether it's for incoming students who are going to rent them. We also have several major hospitals, so sometimes you have residents or people who are just here for a short period of time. If you're done being a landlord and you think it's time to sell your townhome, there's some very specific things that you can do in the Gainesville area to make sure that you make top dollar when you sell. One of the first big things is to assess whether or not you're going to sell it while you still have a tenant in it. If there's a tenant in it, you want to make sure that you and your realtor work very closely with them to make this as smooth as possible, because the hope is that they're going to work with you. They're going to tidy up the place. They're going to make it easy to show it. If, however, they're kind of a pain in the rear end, then it may be best to wait until the property is vacant. If the property is vacant, make sure that you stage it for photos. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to be fully furnished, but you can do something called a vignette, which is just to add a few touches here or there to make it look a little bit more homey and a little bit more inviting for photos. For example, some nice towels in the bathroom, perhaps a little bowl of fruit on the kitchen counter, and maybe even just a small table or a couple of chairs in the living room, just to designate what the space looks like. If the townhome is an investment property for you and you currently have it leased, make sure you have all that information handy. Have a copy of the lease that you can provide to the buyer. Make sure that you are very clear on when that lease expires and how much you're charging for rent. It really helps your agent to be able to advertise those things because buyers are going to ask those questions. The other thing to consider if you're selling your townhome and there's a tenant that's in it is the lease carries over with the property. For example, you're going to sell your townhome in March, but the lease is not up until August. That means that even if you close in April, whoever buys the unit is going to have to honor the lease for that tenant through August. Now, if both the new owner and the current tenant decide to come to a different agreement, then that's fine, but the new owner can't kick out the tenant. The lease supersedes the ownership and conveys with the property. When getting ready to list your townhome in Gainesville, you want to make sure you assess the need for repairs. If you have a tenant in place, schedule an inspection. Even better, if you have a property management company, have them go through and inspect it and assess if there's anything that needs to be done prior to listing. If your community has an HOA and they maintain the exterior of the building, it's a really good time to ask them to address anything that's happening on the outside. If they need to pressure wash or repaint, or perhaps there's something that needs to be fixed, get on their to-do list now, because they usually do things in the order that they've received them. And as always with any listing, cleaning is super important. This gets a little tricky with tenants, especially sometimes with college students. Fingers crossed that your tenant has very cute decorations and likes to clean and spruce up a little bit. If not, again, just assess how much time you have left on the lease and whether or not it's worth to sell now or to wait until it's vacant. And remember, curb appeal still counts for townhomes. There's not as much space to deal with, but a nice welcoming wreath on the door or a potted plant on the little patio, if there is one, goes a long way in making people feel excited about seeing the inside of the house. You get one chance at a first impression, and most buyers decide within the first few seconds of seeing a property if they're going to consider making an offer on it. When you and your realtor are marketing the property, be sure to highlight these things. Any amenities that the community offers. If there's a pool, if there's tennis courts, a gym, make sure the photographer gets photos and make sure those are highlighted, because those kinds of bonuses people really enjoy. And if you're wanting top dollar in Gainesville, highlight your location, the proximity to campus, the proximity to Shands or North Florida Hospital, the proximity to a Publix or a grocery store or any area restaurants. Location, location, location. If you've got a good one, make sure it is well known on the listing. And if there's a bus route nearby, make sure you put that in there too, because it's very convenient for students who might be wanting to rent your place, or perhaps an investor who wants to know that it's going to be easy to rent out. And extra credit. If you can have handy the HOA docs, the covenants, the rules and regulations, those are really super handy for buyers to be able to look at so they know what they're getting into. And if they have any specific questions about parking or boat storage or whatever rules for rentals that there are, it's It's really nice to just have those ready to go. Gainesville's got a lot of townhomes, so if you're trying to sell yours, there may be some competition out there for you. But my hope is that these tips are gonna help you edge out that competition and receive top dollar when you go to sell. Remember, communicate with your tenant. If you do decide to sell your townhome while they still live there, work with them and hopefully they will work with you. But if they're a pain in the rear end, it may be better to wait until they're gone. If you do sell it when it's vacant, be sure to stage it and add just a few things to give it a homier feel. And make sure you've got the current lease terms and the rental rate handy if you're going to sell it while the tenant is still there, because the lease conveys with the property. Assess your townhome for repairs before you list. If you have a property management company, have them go in and inspect it and repair anything that's needed. And if you don't, hire an inspector to go in and take a look. Make sure you clean inside and out. If the HOA manages your exterior, ask them to spruce it up, power wash, paint, fix anything that needs to be done. When the property lists, make sure that you give your realtor all the information, from the amenities to the bus routes, the distance from campus, the proximity to grocery stores and hospitals. Those things are really going to edge you out when you go to sell. And curb appeal still counts. Grab a potted plant, get the cobwebs off the door, and maybe even a wreath. And bonus, if you can have all your HOA docs ready to go, the rules, the covenants, all that information, that's really helpful to an incoming buyer who's going to have a lot of questions. I hope this list has been helpful for you and that it's going to put a little bit of extra money in your pocket when you can sell your townhome for top dollar here in Gainesville. If you have any specific questions about selling your property that I haven't covered here, please be sure to drop a comment below or send me a direct message. I'm here to help and I'm here to be your resource. If today's video brought you some value, please be sure to like and subscribe and click that little notification bell, because I've got a video coming out that's all about why you should accept backup offers when you're selling a property. I'm Lindsey Johnson, your resource for all things real estate. See you next time.